Hi there, my name's Kevin, and I'm the founder and ringleader of the Teals program. Thank you for spending some time with us to learn about how you can volunteer to team teach high school computer science and help high schools locally and across the country build and grow a sustainable computer science program, all the while keeping your day job. Before we start, I want you to think about who in your life inspired or taught you computer science, who helped you take those very crucial first steps. And really what we want to do is pass that on to the next generation American students across the US, whether it's helping them understand the world, an exciting career, or whether or not, try to build a world that is going to be more like Wall-E or prevent a world that's going to be more like Terminator. So let's look at what computer science in every high school actually means. There are about 42,000 high schools across the United States, from sea to shining sea. Three-quarters of them do not offer any sort of computer science. What that means is every year there are 3 million high school seniors that are graduating without ever having the opportunity to take a computer science class. I'm not even saying it's mandatory, it's just the fact that computer science is an option for them to check on their class list. I think that's absolutely unacceptable in the United States, but sadly, it is what's happening on the ground. Things are changing in the 25 states in the union now recognize computer science as a math or science credit. It was 9 when Teals first started in 2009. Code.org, ACM, Microsoft, and a lot of other tech company has teamed up to make these policy level changes. However, just because there's policy and law changes doesn't mean there's actually computer science on the ground. As Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local, and so is education. Just having a law passed doesn't get you computer science in the classroom. So let's start with some statistics. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the National Science Foundation, there's going to be 1 million unfilled jobs that needs a CS background before the decade is out. And if they're not filled, it represents a $500 billion loss to our economy. That's something like 3% of annual GDP. And this is not just a problem for the private sector, but think about national defense. They also have a huge shortage of computer scientists. And this slide is about 2 years old. The data on this slide is about 2 years old. And that number is much higher now in terms of billions of dollars of lost opportunities. And in addition, every computer science job that is filled, 6 more jobs are created in the economy. So let's look a little bit further back into college. Everyone can read pie charts, so I'll let you take a look at this. Sadly, it's not one of those hilarious meme charts, but I'll let the huge discrepancy of college students in STEM, which isn't already an area where students are under-subscribing, to the percentage of STEM graduates that's needed in computer science. Just let that chart sink in for just a second for you there. So let's go look a little bit further back in high school, where a lot of students decide whether or not they want to take more computer science classes in college. College Board studies shows that girls who take AP Computer Science are 9 times more likely to pursue computer science and continue computer science at the college level. Underrepresented minorities are 5 times more likely, and amongst all students, it's approximately also about 4 or 5 times more likely if they take AP Computer Science to continue to pursue computer science coursework at the college level. And if you look at the 2016 AP exam graph here, divided by topic, you can see where computer science is. We should really be where the other STEM subjects are, like bio, physics, stat, but we're way, way, way behind. And that's after 2, 3 years of phenomenal growth, one of the fastest growing AP subjects for the past couple years, despite being stuck in the mid-20s or 30s for 20 years or so. But we've seen some phenomenal growth, but we still have a really, really long way to go. And we're showing AP, the AP level because that's a national exam and measure, and you can really tell about how healthy the pipeline is. This is just sort of the measurement at the end. It tells you how good your intro classes are. Especially if you look at biology, a lot of schools, because they got AP biology, must have really good AP biology, and middle school must have good earth science, and so on and so forth. So this is what we are looking at, and we have a huge, huge problem here. So even when a school does want to offer computer science, principals and school administrators have a really hard time hiring teachers with the CS background to teach it. As engineers, we went to engineering school to build stuff, and it's very hard to convince an engineer to go and teach as a full-time position when they went and decided to go to engineering school to build things. And really, the long-term solution is very much have School of Education teach math, science teachers a couple of computer science classes so they can teach computer science when they come out of these teacher programs. But right now, there aren't just a lot of these programs around. There's still issues with certification, licensure, all these things, and they're just not really a lot of programs that have that's around across the country. And schools are just not experts in recruiting folks with computer science backgrounds. They don't show up at the CS career fairs nearly as much. So it all leads to a shortage of computer science teachers at the school level. Computer science isn't just about programming. Computer science and the ideas in computer science permeates the students' lives. And the key to a thriving democracy is to have informed citizens. And as big issues like surveillance, privacy, big data, AI, digital crime, digital currency, all of these come out, our high school students that are graduating now have to have a basic literate understanding of all of these big ideas in computer science. That's one tier. Another tier, computational thinking and the big ideas in computer science that enables all of these things. And whatever the students end up majoring in STEM, in healthcare, in education, in sports, whatever it is, understanding the big ideas in computer science will be a crucial tool for them to be successful in their future careers. And third of all, yes, computer science, we do want some kids to major in computer science. We want to teach computer science just for the exact same reason people teach bio, chem, physics. Not everyone needs to be a doctor or a chemist, but having that basic level understanding, able to understand the big ideas and apply it to whatever other field they end up in. And third, if some kids end up in that field, fantastic. For the exact same reason, we need to make sure that computer science is taught at every high school across the country. And just because you're in a tech hub doesn't necessarily mean there's computer science classes at your local high schools. When Teals started in 2009, 350 kids in the state of Washington took the APCS exam. And this year, with Teals partnered with 70 high schools across the state, and probably next year closer to 100, only about 2,000 students took the APCS exam. And that's with Teals accounting for half of those students. We're going to continue to grow, and if you look at the numbers of underrepresented students and girls, they're actually better than the national averages, but they're still actually quite a bit below the general student population. So we still have quite a ways to go, even in tech hubs like Washington. And it's not just Washington. Look at California, the sixth largest economy in the world. And their numbers, it's a much bigger state, but their total numbers are very, very similar if you look at just sort of percentage-wise where things are. And this is indicative of big state, small state, medium state. It is a problem that's just repeated multiple times across the country. And here's a quick sampling of 4 other states, and you can sort of see what the national picture actually looks like on the ground. Now let's imagine you're a teacher at a high school that wants to teach French, but no one in the school speaks French. So this is what it is like from the teacher's point of view when the principal tells them they're going to be teaching computer science, but we'll substitute French in here for a second. Your principal wants to have an AP French class. You don't speak a single word of French. Maybe had some French fries before or know what a Peugeot is. But your principal says, hey, you know what? I'm going to send you to the College Board AP French training over the summer. It's a week long. Actually, it's really 4 days long, but that's enough, right? You would be able to teach AP French. And sadly, for computer science, that is exactly what's going on. It doesn't make sense for French, and it doesn't make sense for computer science. Now, imagine the principal also said, hey, you know what? Instead of you learning French, AP French in 4 days, I have 4 native French speakers. They are going to teach the class with you. You're going to learn from them. And once you get the hang of French from these native French speakers, you're going to be able to teach AP French on your own after a couple years. Now, to the teacher's ears and any sane person, this seems much better than just 4 days of a College Board AP French workshop. Just as no one can learn college level French in a week, neither can anyone learn computer science in a week. But we make it safe for the teachers and schools to offer it and take that very vital first step with them. And this is why our teachers and school love Teals. This is our model. Teals works with high schools that are committed to offering computer science but don't have any teachers on staff with a CS background. And we work with them to build a sustainable computer science program with the help of volunteers like yourself. First period, so 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, before you're actually needed at work. And after a while, the computer science teacher that you'll be working with is able to teach computer science on their own. And this involves everybody, the tech community, the school administration, the principal, the classroom teacher. It really, as it turns out, takes a village to build a computer science program. And we offer APCSA and Introduction to Computer Science, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about later. And the work that we and our team of volunteers have done has been recognized not just in the general press, but also from schools that teach computer science, and as well as schools of education where they see the two combining together is really, really making a difference for computer science education. And this is just one of our 9,000 students that we have taught last year, that how much a computer science class has changed their lives and their life trajectories. And this is one of our classroom teachers who works with us to learn and teach computer science at a high school in Central Washington, and what he had to say about how incredibly important it is and how great it is to have software engineers to come and teach these classes with him. We support teachers in 3 different ways. So going from the left, where we do most of the teaching and it's a brand new teacher to computer science, to a teacher that's worked with us or have a little bit of CS background or a lot of CS background and can teach the class mostly on their own. So a lot of schools do come into the orange box, classroom teacher who is a math teacher, a science teacher, a business teacher who doesn't have a lot of CS background but wants to learn, and teach. So we usually put them together with 3 to 4 volunteers as a volunteer team, and they form a teaching team together. Um, each volunteer comes in twice a week. A couple of the volunteers are going to be lead teachers, a couple of them are going to be TAs. And so, from the teacher's perspective, there's 2 volunteers that's in the class every single day. And so, but for the volunteers, we're just saying couple days a week. And of course, as a team, you have to communicate and talk to each other. And it's really cool way to team teach together. And if as a volunteer, we know that you have business trips and vacation, all that stuff. That's why we have 3 to 4 volunteers. We can back each other up. So if someone, their product shipping that week or in the next couple weeks, and they can trade their times with some of the other volunteers, and we can all have coverage there. And there is a $5,000 travel stipend for the volunteers to be split amongst the volunteers. The school sets aside a $5,000 travel stipend to offset a lot of your travel costs. Once the classroom teacher is able to teach a majority of the course on their own, we realize that a lot of teachers, I think as someone who's new to computer science, debugging is really hard. I think as software engineers who've been in this for a long time, you can spot a student's bug immediately and then walk them through and ask the right questions to lead the kids to the bug and help them think about the bug and debug. And it's still very hard for teachers to do that. And when you can imagine a class of 30 kids all raise their hands during lab time, that's very, very difficult. So for teachers who can independently teach a class on their own but still want lab support, we have 1 or 2 volunteers for them, and the volunteers show up really just to do to lab. And for teachers who have sort of done this for a few years and can teach computer science on their own and they're comfortable with running lab as well, now we're talking about classroom enrichment. And this is volunteers going just once a week and help out the really big hairy labs and be a technical backstop for the classroom teacher, if they want to go over some lesson plans or something that's new or they need a refresher on and just or questions from students from left field. That's what those 3 different models are really for. So we can support teachers who have very little to no computer science experience all the way to a teacher who has a lot of experience but still wants some help to help them grow their CS program all the way from when they first started to build their CS program with us. So that's the whole continuum. And you can see as volunteers, the commitments are different and you can choose which one you want depending on which school. So it's kind of a matching process. Now that we've seen the details of the 3 different support model for Teals, let's look at this graphical summary that helps us to see the big picture. On the left, we have the various responsibility associated with running a high school CS class. We can see that the expectation of our program is that the classroom teacher is leading the classroom and doing classroom management from the very beginning of the partnership. However, the other categories, volunteers are very much taking a majority of the responsibilities at first, but then very slowly passing them on to the teacher over time as the teacher feels more comfortable with all of those duties included in teaching. And by the time they're in the consulting support model, the last one, they're no longer leaning on volunteer support day to day in the classroom. And one thing that Teals does is work with high schools in rural communities where there's not really a pool of computer science industry volunteers, and it's 2 hours from the nearest metro area. So we actually teach these rural high schools using teleconference technology and volunteers. You can see Michael there in his office putting on a tie, and teleconference and volunteering for Teals is a very, very large commitment. Think of it about as like joining a gym that you have to go to at least a couple of days a week early in the morning. And this is the most time commitment model of the we looked at the three, whether it's team teaching versus lab support versus classroom enrichment model. So this is the most extreme of the three support models we offer to the schools in terms of time commitment on the volunteer side. So you can imagine all of these things you have to do, they all add up. One, volunteers in the classrooms twice a week, and so there's 2 to 3 days a week there. The school year is 36 weeks. For every hour in the classroom, you probably need to spend an hour prepping or grading. And we also do training, summer training, about 3 weekends, well, not weekends, 3 Saturdays worth of training that in person, where it's about 20 hours, and there's about 20 hours of online training where you have to do the homework, the projects, and just get the idea of what the class is, and as well as PD support throughout the school year, and monthly meetups and just meetings. We add all of that up. It's about 220 hours or so of work throughout the calendar year. And if you also add, if you're going to a local school and it's a little bit out of your way, adding commute time of 60 hours throughout the year, that's about 280 hours total of your time. And you can imagine the ones where we do lab supports a little bit less because there's a little bit much less classroom prep, or you're not doing as much lesson planning, and in the classroom enrichment it's even less. But nonetheless, depending on which school you're in, it is going to be a very large time commitment. So think about if this is a commitment you can actually make and keep for at least a year. And the courses we teach are pretty good, legit courses. For the introductory, think of survey class, we teach the UC Berkeley CS10 course, and it is in a block programming language called Snap, which is an extension of Scratch. And you do all of the fun projects like Galaga, like Mario, all these other things. And at the meantime, while doing that, you learn all of the big ideas in computer science, like recursion, lists, and OOP, and things like that. It's a really great way to introduce kids to computer science. And we've been working with Berkeley for the past 6 to 8 years, and it's a great course at Berkeley, and that's why we adopted it. For AP Computer Science, we actually run the University of Washington 142, 143 course. This is your more typical CS major first semester course. It's in Java. We use the same textbook as University of Washington, and we've been working with the University of Washington for 6, 8 years now as well on adapting their curriculum to high school and at the high school level, and we had a lot of success with that. And new this year is the new AP Computer Science Principles course. Think of it as a general ed. Think of our introductory course, but at the AP level. Very broad coverage of computer science, computational thinking, things like how networks work. And since it's such a new AP, we're piloting a few things with national curriculum provider. So that's still in the works, and we offer only lab support or classroom enrichment in that only. So we try to support a good range of curricula. And also what's not here is we now have quite a few schools that have 3, 4 AP classes, and now they're looking at what comes after the APCSA course, an advanced topics class, if you will. And so about a dozen of our schools have that, and so we're also running that as well. So we offer a whole pathway for high schools to really build up their computer science programs. We're actually able to reach a pretty diverse group of students and schools to offer computer science in all of them. So the diversity of our students come from high schools that we partner with, whether it's public, charter, private, religious, independent, or even at a skills center where all the homeschool kids from the region all come together and take a computer science class together. And we work with schools that are urban, suburban, rural, high performing, high needs, and any and everything in between. And as a result, 30% of our students are female, which is about double the industry average. We're still going to work on that to get to 50-50, just like all the other our STEM subjects. And about a third of our students are underrepresented minorities, which is about triple the industry average and closer to the US demographic data. And we see all of our students, see themselves as college bound, they're ambitious, and we want to arm them with the computer science background they need to be successful. And for 70% of them, this is their first sort of organized computer science anything, whether it's a club or their class or summer camp or something else. It's their first organized, structured approach and exposure to computer science. And we put computer science as class because we absolutely believe that kids should not have to choose between playing a sport or volunteering or being in band versus computer science. You don't have to do that for other academic subjects, and that's why we put computer science in the school day in their class schedule so they don't have to choose. This current school year, Teals is partnered with about 225 schools across the country. And in this upcoming school year, the one that you're going to be applying to be a volunteer for, are some of the schools are still getting interviewed and things are getting partnerships are finalized, but we expect somewhere around 350, 325, 350-ish schools. Final number are still going to be cleared up before summer starts. But you can see that we're in about 26 states across the union, and we have lots of schools applying and really want to start computer science and need volunteers like you across the country to pitch in and help them out. And in addition to the classroom computer science class is absolutely the foundation to everything else, but we also do a very large computer science fair in New York and Seattle, a couple other places. We have 2,000 CS kids come in and meet industry volunteers, industry panelists, and software engineers who are working on all sorts of different products. And so think of that as a college fair slash CS fair slash science fair slash career fair all rolled into one. So it's a really great event for all of the students to come in and say, okay, if I keep on going in computer science, here's where I can end up, and to get to talk to people who already taken that journey. And we also work with companies, possibly companies that you work for, and said, our employees have been volunteering all this time with these students. We should get these high school kids, cream of crop high school CS kids, an internship. So, and we're just out there making sure that our students are as successful as possible, that you're successful as possible, and our teachers and schools are as successful as possible, not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. Well, you might want to ask, how did this crazy thing ever get started in the first place? Well, it started in 2009 when I was a software engineer in Office 365. A local high school found out that I used to teach high school computer science in the past, and I worked out a deal with them where I would come in and teach first period and then go to work. So I was essentially volunteer zero, and they really liked this model because I had previously taught computer science for a few years down in the Bay Area after graduating with a CS degree, and then went to grad school and then ended up working at Microsoft. So it was very natural for the local school and me to figure out, hey, you know what? I don't have to go be at work until 10 o'clock, so I can go and teach a period of computer science. And before that semester is out, 4 more local schools heard about this. And so what I did was I recruited a few friends, I trained them over the summer, and this is the very first cohort you can see there at Issaquah High School at the time. And then the program just sort of snowballed out of there. We went from 1 school to 4 to 13 to 35 and 100 volunteers.
And then I realized I couldn't just do this in my spare time, being a software engineer in Office 365 and work with 100 volunteers and 35 schools. I really just had no time to do this. And I was going to spin this off as a 501c3. I sold my Porsche, I had my resignation letter, and because it's really, really worth doing, and nobody was doing that. And my VP at the time heard about this and said, "Hold on, before you quit, let's go see Satya. I'll take you to go see Satya, who was not the CEO back then, who was the president of Server Tools and Business." And in the meeting, essentially, we figured that if I do this as a nonprofit, I will spend 80% of my time raising money and very little time actually concentrate on the program itself. So Satya proposed that Microsoft hosts and incubate the program as long as makes sense. I don't have to ask people for money. We can just work on the program itself. And I just ask Microsoft Philanthropies for a budget, and it's kind of great. I get to do both. I have the resources of Microsoft and Microsoft Philanthropies and keep doing what we've been doing. And what we do is so incredibly important to not just Microsoft, but the entire tech community in the country. And the tech community has given so much to Microsoft, and it is incredibly important for Microsoft to give back to the tech community in a real meaningful way. And that's why Microsoft Philanthropies is supporting us and supporting every engineer that wants to do this, no matter who signs your paycheck. The funny thing is, we're probably the only organization in Microsoft that actively goes out and teach Java, and it's really amazing to have Microsoft Philanthropies embrace this program, and even more importantly, have the support of the entire CS and tech community to embrace this program. And that's why 3/4 of our volunteers are folks from companies that are not Microsoft, and to get to have that level of support is absolutely incredible.
Because of our volunteers, we had a really tremendous impact on computer science education as a whole. You can see, what the students and teachers feel about having computer scientists in the classroom with them. Our AP scores are 10% higher than the national average. To date, since program inception, we've taught almost 26,000 students, and our volunteers have invested 650,000 hours in the schools that they're volunteering at. And if you want to sort of treat it like a law firm pro bono value service, that's about $100 million worth of value service that they provide to the schools that they've been volunteering at. And that's just an incredible number. And we wouldn't have done it without volunteers rolling up their sleeves, giving up their early mornings, and helping out their local schools and teachers and students. And what we have learned in teaching computer science with thousands of volunteers, and us as a program, we've published and shared what we've learned to the wider CS education community with ACM 60, and we'll continue to do so. But it all comes down really to one volunteer at a time, one classroom at a time, one school building, one school district, one state at a time, and help all of these schools get computer science into their class. And just like lawyers who do pro bono work, doctors who do free clinic work, as software engineers, I think it is our professional duty and obligation to give back to the community. And so if you're passionate about computer science and you have a CS background, either academically or to learn on the job, we would like for you to volunteer. And we have volunteers, we have about 750 this current school year, and they represent well over 200 companies. It doesn't really matter who signs your paycheck, just like lawyers could be on opposing sides during the day in the courtroom. But when we do all this pro bono work together, it's more about professional pride and passing on our knowledge to the next generation and doing some greater good for the country and moving humanity forward. And this is what one of our volunteer had to say about her experience remotely teaching a high school in central Washington. I think earlier you saw the quote from the teacher, but this is the volunteer side of things, and very illustrative of the tech industry. When she started volunteering, she was a Microsoft employee, and now she works at Amazon. But either way, she's a Teals volunteer. She's a software engineer, and we're very happy to have her put in that time to help a school hundreds of miles away being able to access computer science. Think back to the beginning of our presentation. Think about if, you know, this is what you want to do. We laid out the problem, how big of a problem this is across the country. There's no other words to describe it when 3 point something million high school students graduate without having the chance to take a computer science class. And what you can do, and it's a very big commitment to roll up your sleeves and pitch in, wake up early, set up an alarm to wake up really early, take a little bit detour on your way to work, and put in some time at a local school and really invest in that school and help them build up a CS program. And you can imagine all of the impact that we've had, not just the numbers we've shown, but the students' lives that we have changed. Kids that didn't think they were going to go into computer science, or they want a career, or never even thought about computer science, or never met a computer scientist or an engineer before, and now they found their calling. This is what they want to do. Or even student that is not going to major in computer science but realized, oh wow, if I go into biology, having computer science in my back pocket is going to help me a lot in whatever their field of study happens to be. But at the end of the day, be a role model, change a student's life and their trajectory. Think about, the teachers that you've had that huge impression on you, and you can be that teacher for someone else. And this is an opportunity to do that. So if you do decide this is something that you want to do, here's all the timeline and logistics. The applications are due May 1st across the country. Some states may have a slightly later deadline, but majority of May is going to be interviews, and then the teams are formed the first week of June. And then summer is training. We've mentioned before about 3 Saturdays worth, and then also online time and time for you to meet and build your team. And then during the school year, you go do the actual teaching, and then we will support you through monthly meetings, team meetings, observations, all these other things that we do for you to make sure that you're fully supported throughout the school year. And if this is something that you want to do and you want to volunteer with a friend, definitely let your friends know. Or if you see that, oh wow, in my home state, and where I still have some friends, we have some Teals schools, make sure your friends also in these other states also know that they can apply as well. Like I said, interviews happen soon. There's our website, and there's an application there. And so if you're interested in doing this, think hard about it, because we're asking a lot from you. But it is ultimately incredibly rewarding. All of our Teals volunteers come back and tell us that it's one of the harder things that they've done time commitment wise, but it's also one of the most rewarding things they have done. And so if you invest a lot of time and energy and passion into something, you get a lot in return as well. And so think about this as something you want to do. And thank you for spending the time with us to learn more about the program. And we hope to see you as a volunteer very soon.